Labour has been making controversial decisions ever since taking office, but none has drawn more criticism than their highly contentious plan to introduce an inheritance tax on farms and business properties worth over £1 million. Now, new revelations about the consequences of this policy have sent shockwaves through the country. Far from achieving its intended goals of boosting the Treasury's revenue, this ill-conceived tax has been exposed as an economic disaster waiting to happen. Reeves, the mastermind behind this policy, initially claimed that the changes to Business Property Relief (BPR) and Agricultural Property Relief (APRIL) would generate £520 million annually for the Treasury. However, a detailed report conducted by the Confederation of British Industry (CBI) has painted a far bleaker picture. According to their findings, Labour's tax plan will not only fail to bring in the promised revenue but will actually end up costing the government a staggering £1.25 billion. That's right. This policy is projected to lose more money than it raises, creating an economic black hole that could further destabilize an already fragile economy. But the financial losses are only part of the story. The report also predicts that this policy will have devastating ripple effects on the job market. By forcing farms and small businesses to sell assets to cover inheritance taxes, the policy is expected to cause the loss of 125,000 jobs. For thousands of families across the UK, this means lost livelihoods and increased hardship in an economy already plagued by high inflation and a cost of living crisis. Experts warn that the damage won't end there. Businesses forced to downsize or shut down entirely will also contribute to a slowdown in economic activity, leading to reduced growth and investment. Looking further ahead, the CBI estimates that by 2029, Labour's inheritance tax policy could cost the UK economy a staggering £9 billion in lost productivity and reduced business expansion. This isn't just a minor miscalculation. It's a catastrophic failure that could leave a lasting scar on the country's economic landscape. Farmers, small business owners, and entrepreneurs have already voiced their outrage, with many accusing Labour of targeting the very people who drive the UK's economy. They argue that the inheritance tax is not just unfair but also deeply damaging to the long-term health of agriculture and small businesses. Farmers, in particular, are feeling the brunt of this policy. Many fear they won't be able to pass their farms down to the next generation due to the heavy financial burden of inheritance tax. Agriculture, a cornerstone of the UK economy, could face a significant decline in productivity as family farms are forced to sell off land and equipment to pay the tax. Small business owners, meanwhile, warn that the tax will discourage investment and expansion, further weakening the economy at a time when growth is desperately needed. Critics are now calling into question Labour's competence in managing the economy. How could a policy with such glaring risks and devastating consequences be implemented without proper research or consideration? Many argue that Labour is more focused on populist measures and short-term optics than on crafting pragmatic policies that benefit the broader economy. Reeves, in particular, is facing mounting pressure to explain how such a poorly conceived policy was allowed to move forward. The backlash has been swift and fierce. Opposition leaders, economic experts, and everyday citizens alike have condemned Labour for their apparent disregard for the long-term consequences of their policies. Conservatives have accused Labour of jeopardizing the economic stability of the country, with some going so far as to say that this policy is an attack on hard-working Britons. Reeves has failed to consider the real-world impact of this tax, one critic remarked. She's putting political ideology ahead of common sense, and it's the British people who will pay the price. Adding to the controversy is the perception that Labour is out of touch with the struggles of ordinary Britons. While imposing new taxes and creating financial strain for families and businesses, Labour ministers have been accused of living lavishly and spending taxpayer money on unnecessary luxuries. For many, this has only deepened their frustration with a government that seems increasingly disconnected from the realities faced by the average citizen. The question now is, what will Labour do to address the growing outrage? Can Reeves and a team admit their mistakes and take corrective action, or will they double down on their flawed policies? For the UK economy, the stakes couldn't be higher. Every day that this policy remains in place brings the country closer to a future of higher unemployment, slower growth, and reduced opportunities. It's becoming clear that Labour's inheritance tax policy is not just a political misstep, it's a full-blown economic crisis in the making. The British people deserve better. They deserve a government that prioritizes their needs, protects their livelihoods, and ensures a stable and prosperous future for all. Do you believe Labour's inheritance tax policy is a colossal mistake? Is Rachel Reeves failing in her role as Chancellor? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if you think Labour's decisions are harming hard-working Britons, and share it to spread the word about the devastating consequences of this policy. Together, we can hold those in power accountable for their actions.